Audi's beautifully finished 4th generation A6 Avant is a large, luxurious estate that combines practicality with panache. In this form, it's even higher tech, better finished and cleverer than before, and aims to offer buyers a little more charisma and driving reward this time round. You can see why it's a class leader. Audi may not be too far ahead of its arch-rival BMW in terms of overall sales, but in one segment at least, the Ingolstadt maker comprehensively beats its closest rival, that of large, luxurious, executive-class estates. Their A6 Avant outsells the rival BMW 5 Series Touring nearly 2-to-1 and is even further ahead of the estate version of the Mercedes E-Class. What then might the marque achieve with a car bigger yet lighter, more powerful yet more cost-effective to run? This car, the 4th generation A6 Avant. You can see why the brands up the Autobahn from Audi in Munich and Stuttgart are worried. Most cars of this kind, after all, usually end up on the executive driveways of company buyers, whose choices in turn are often dictated by the dictates of their business accountants. And what company number cruncher is going to tell you to look away from a car that in its mainstream forms offers the lowest benefiting kind tax charges in its class and can cost up to 8 pence per mile less to run than its two most obvious rivals? But cars of this kind aren't only bought on paper. In the past, Audi has sometimes found it difficult to replicate the charisma that attracts so many people to a Mercedes, or the driving dynamics that cause others to favour a BMW. This sharper looking, more rewarding A6 Avant aims to encourage those people to think again, at the same time as providing arguably the most practical large load carrier that Audi has ever made. Let's check it out. The days are long gone when estate cars, particularly those of this calibre, felt heavy and cumbersome compared to the saloons upon which they were based. This A6 Avant will doubtless be bought by many who don't necessarily need an estate car, just because they like the feel of it. And particularly in this 4th generation form, the feel of this car is really what you remember, even after a very brief drive. Thunk shut the door, fire the engine, and you're treated to the theatrical arrival of the MMI driver information screen as it powers up from the middle of the fascia. Brush your brogues against the throttle pedal, and there's a subdued rumble from somewhere up ahead that vanishes almost completely as you power underway. The power plant in question is almost certain, on these shores at least, to be of the diesel variety. Not that Audi hasn't tried hard to keep customers loyal to the green pump, even developing a 2-litre petrol-electric hybrid version of this car. And this Generation A6 was launched with the same 300 PS 3-litre TFSI supercharged petrol V6 that was fitted to the previous generation version. Audi even added a fire-breathing 4-litre twin-turbo S6 petrol model shortly after, with 420 PS, capable of hurling your Labrador back against the rear window with some gusto as it accelerates from rest to 60 in under 5 seconds. But it all matters very little. Most UK A6 Avant buyers will have a single-minded TDI focus, with over 3/4 of them likely to opt for the entry-level 177 PS 2-litre TDI, with either a 6-speed manual transmission or an 8-speed Multitronic Auto. Of the remainder, nearly all will be choosing between different versions of the 3-litre V6 TDI that I've got here, that's offered either with 2-wheel drive and 204 PS or with Quattro 4-wheel drive and 245 PS. That's the version that I've got here. And this faster version gets an S-Tronic twin-clutch automatic gearbox that you'll also find on the even faster 313 PS version of this 3-litre diesel V6. Engine wear then that's pretty familiar from other Audi models and torquey enough to give this estate a maximum towing capacity of up to 2,100 kilograms. The real step forward though with this 4th generation A6 Avant has been to match it to a body structure that, thanks to the widespread use of aluminium in fabricating the bonnet, the doors, the front wings and much of the suspension, is up to 70 kilograms lighter than before. Now that doesn't harm performance, as you can imagine. Even the entry-level 2-litre TDI manages rest to 60 in 9 seconds dead on the way to a top speed of 138 miles an hour, while the 3-litre models are true 150 mile an hour cars, with performance ranging from 7.4 seconds in the 204 PS 3-litre TDI to just 5.4 seconds if you go the petrol route with the 3-litre TFSI model. What's really vital though is that this weight saving should have an effect on the dynamic handling prowess of this car. Now, I'm not going to be polite about this. The previous generation A6 Avant was a bit of a dull drive compared to a rival BMW 5 Series Touring. This one must do better. And Audi has thrown everything at this design to try and ensure that it will. The structural dietary program has been complemented by the adoption of a longer wheelbase and a decent dose of high-tech too, with the standard inclusion of the Drive Select program, which offers dynamic, comfort, auto and individual settings via which you can tweak the steering, throttle and the gearbox settings. There's even an efficiency mode that allows for a more fuel-efficient driving style. Opt for air suspension, and that can be tweaked too. The extent to which all this works depends a little on the model that you choose. Arguably the best drive is delivered by the least sophisticated entry-level 2-litre TDI variant. Like all A6s, it suffers a little from the slightly vague feel of the electromechanical power steering, but has an agile feel conferred by having to carry less weight over the front wheels, and rewards press-on people with its simple, sweet-shifting 6-speed manual gearbox. The more powerful 3-litre models counter with a more sophisticated Quattro 4-wheel drive system. So equipped, you can simply power into a corner, enjoy the driver-orientated rearward bias, and keep your foot in as various computers around the car distribute torque around the chassis as needed. Now, how sophisticated all this is really depends upon the option boxes you've ticked when specifying your car. All A6s do get the clever crown differential, first developed for Audi's RS5 Super Coupe, that's able to distribute torque between front and rear wheels depending on the grip available. But with more powerful 3-litre A6s, you can go a step further by specifying a sport differential that does much the same thing from side to side between the wheels at the back. Now this has the effect of forcing the car through a sharp bend, so that the direction that you're pointing with the front wheels is more accurately followed. So instead of turning in power on to a tight corner and the wheels on one side of the car spinning uselessly while the wheels on the other lack grip, you've got a torque vectoring package that's able to sort it all out for you, braking those wheels that are spinning and sending power to the tyres that need it. But of course, what's really important here is not B-road blasting, but highway cruising. And for an exemplary performance in this area, there are no expensive options boxes to tick. Unless, of course, you want to go the whole hog and specify double glazed acoustic side windows to complement the acoustic windscreen that's standard on all A6s and helps to create the whisper quiet refinement at speed with a supple ride that matches it, even if you don't opt for the extra cost air suspension that I've got here. But of course, the lily can always be gilded, perhaps by adaptive LED headlamps that can dip themselves and vary their beam to suit town or highway driving conditions, even illuminating crossroads as you pass. Here's a car that is able to stop you from drifting out of your lane during motorway travel, that can also be eased by active cruise control, able to keep you a safe distance to the vehicle in front and even bring you seamlessly to a stop if required. Here's a car that can park itself, a car that can use thermal imaging to highlight things you may have missed at night, a car that can stop you dangerously pulling out in front of another driver to overtake, and even one that can read speed limit signs as you pass and display them as part of a head-up display, is a very clever car indeed. Now, people don't primarily buy large, luxurious estates for their ultimate carriage capacity. If that was the case, after all, they'd instead be buying an equally plush, but even more practical, large MPV. But luggage capacity is a key consideration, and it's an area where the old A6 Avant lagged a little behind its BMW and Mercedes rivals. Now, you can see from the rakish rear screen of this fourth generation version that Audi hasn't sought to dramatically change that with this model, but an increase in wheelbase has put this car back on terms with the boot of a 5 Series Touring at least. You can now get 565 litres in here. But as any family owner will tell you, the way that you can use any given space is often more important than its ultimate size. And with this A6, assuming that you've opted for an electric tailgate, that ease of use can start before you've even opened a door. Let's say that you're approaching the car laden down with heavy shopping bags that'll collapse all over the tarmac when you put them down to fumble in your pocket for the key. Now here there's a clever feature that requires you to do little more than just wave your foot under the rear bumper. The sensors will automatically sense the key in your pocket and raise the tailgate for you. And once the door's open, the cleverness continues. Now this rear luggage cover moves in concert with the tailgate, but when the tailgate's closed, the cover doesn't quite meet the glass. So to keep items in here completely away from prying eyes, you might want to take advantage of this two-stage boot floor, so you can put really small items beneath it out of sight. Audi has installed these useful rails on either side of the low bay area, onto which you can clip either a load restraining net or these movable posts with their telescopic arms so that you can separate your eggs from your iron brew. And of course there's all the usual bag hooks, side compartments and load restraining straps that you'd expect from an estate car of this kind. And there's also this dirt resistant tray for muddy boots. If there is no substitute for sheer size, then pushing forward the split folding rear bench via these useful levers on either side of the estate compartment frees up as much as most will need. Though because the rear seat backs merely flop onto these seat cushions, the resulting load bay floor is slightly uphill, which is one reason why the total 1,680 litre capacity is slightly down on obvious rivals. But what no competitor can beat is the feeling of premium quality you get in the cabin, something especially evident here behind the wheel. This is one of the finest interiors available in any car at any price. It's plusher than that of a BMW 5 Series, it's trendier than that of a Mercedes E-Class, and it's better built than that of a Jaguar XF. Everything has been thought about down to intricate detail, from the magnesium frame steering wheel to an air conditioning system that's able to adjust itself according to the position of the sun. The dashboard is dominated by a central high-resolution MMI display screen, here uprated from 6.5 to 8 inches in size, that controls most of the major cabin functions. It feels pretty nice in the rear too, especially with this panoramic roof fitted. That's assuming, of course, that you're not stuck on this hard central seat. Now, thanks to the wheelbase increase, there's enough room now for a couple of 6-foot adults to stretch out in real comfort. Now, match all this attention to detail with bulletproof build quality. Check out these wafer-thin panel gaps, and styling that's a little more characterful, especially here at the front, where there's a smarter, more contemporary look, and you've a compelling package. The premium for Avant ownership in the A6 range, it's about £2,000 over the saloon, is a little higher than some brands will ask for their estate derivatives, but you do get an awful lot of extra versatility for that. and choice. In this lineup, after all, there's everything from the all-road model with its SUV-like approach, its raised suspension and its semi-off-road stance, to the fire-breathing petrol S6 with its 4-litre twin-turbo engine and 420 PS. It's capable of rest to 60 in under 5 seconds. Here, though, we're going to concentrate on mainstream A6 Avant models like this one, cars that reside mainly in the £35,000 to £45,000 bracket, with costs for the entry-level 2-litre TDI variant that most will choose beginning slightly below that. Now, you'll be wanting to know how that stacks up against this model's two most obvious competitors, BMW's 5 Series Touring and the Mercedes E-Class Estate. Well, the answer is that there's not that much in it. All three of these competitors are priced almost identically in entry-level form, and from then on there's usually only a few £100 between them model for model as you go up the range. In those model instances where this Audi does lose out to its rivals, the Ingolstadt brand is quick to point out that equipping either of its two competitors to A6 standard would add significantly to their price. And of course, with more powerful A6 Avant models, you've got the added extra benefit of Quattro four-wheel drive. As many as 85% of A6 Avant customers will opt for the entry-level 177 PS 2-litre TDI variant, probably with multitronic automatic transmission. But before signing on the dotted line for one of those, it's worth taking a look at one of the 3-litre TDI models, like the one I have here, and seeing if you can stretch to one of those. There is, after all, quite a choice, with 204, the 245 PS variant that I've been driving, and 313 PS models on offer, all of which make it difficult to countenance the 300 PS 3-litre TFSI petrol alternative. You may, though, be tempted by the 4-litre TFSI petrol S6 with its 420 PS. But whichever A6 Avant you choose, you should find it decently equipped. All models get aluminium roof rails, alloy wheels, tyre pressure monitoring, auto headlamps and wipers. You also get front and rear parking sensors, an auto dimming rear view mirror, Bluetooth compatibility for your mobile phone, cruise control, a 10-speaker sound system with a 6-channel 180-watt amplifier and dual-zone climate control. It's a bit rich to have to pay over £400 extra for a DAB digital radio, though. But of course, the standard kit list is only the start. The Ingolstadt brand throws over €2 billion each year into research and development, and the result in this car is a roster of so many optional high-tech systems that Audi centres across the UK are considering laying on tutorial sessions for buyers, much as you'd find in an Apple iStore. They'll be needed. You will, after all, need to be quite a committed technophile to understand everything that this car can do. Believe it or not, with this particular example, I've managed to nearly double its asking price, adding on nearly £40,000 worth of optional extras. Yes, really. Let me take you around a few of my favourites. Driving wise, there's adaptive air suspension for a magic carpet ride and sharper handling turn-in thanks to Audi's clever sports differential. There's the park assist system that'll guide me into the tightest spaces, end-on as well as side-located, and LED headlamps that will adapt themselves to the prevailing road conditions and automatically dip themselves at night. Inside, I've got the uprated MMI Navigation Plus system with its larger screen, a dashboard trim package with these lovely oakwood inserts, and a huge panoramic glass electric sunroof. I've even got the hugely expensive but very desirable Bang & Olufsen 1300 watt 15 speaker advanced sound system with these lovely tweeters that rise up from the corners of the dash on startup. Then there are these beautifully supportive comfort seats that are heated, ventilated, electrically operated, and will even massage me if I've had a particularly hard day. High-tech touches include a head-up display system that projects key driving information onto the bottom of the windscreen, including speed limit signs as I pass them. And there's even a night vision assistant able to highlight errant pedestrians after dark. Neatest of all, perhaps, is the way that you can get precise views of your destination by integrating Google Earth into a sat-nav system optionally controllable by this touch-sensitive pad. And the way that you can create in your car a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot into which you could link your laptop or an iPad. Want to play tunes from your iPod? Get on the web, go to the iTunes store and download a track, all while driving? You can do it here. Out back, my rear passengers benefit from their own controls for the 4-zone uprated automatic air conditioning system. And for the boot, which features a load area fixing kit, there's an automatic tailgate which has a hands-free boot opening system. That means I've only got to waft my foot under the bumper for the tailgate to automatically open. At least basic standards of safety aren't optional. You get 6 airbags in the basic tally, along with the usual electronic assistance for braking, traction and stability control, plus Isofix child seat fastenings, a pedestrian-friendly bonnet and anti-whiplash front head restraints. But of course, here too you can go much further if you're prepared to spend the money, with things like the pre-sense safety system that I've got on this car that's able to sense when an accident is inevitable and take preventative measures. Then there's active cruise control, which is even clever enough to bring the car to a stop if necessary. There's a side assist system that'll stop you pulling out dangerously to overtake another car, and a lane keeping assist system that'll stop drowsy drivers from unintentionally veering out of their lanes on the motorway. There are also active LED headlamps able to communicate with the sat-nav system to sense when you're coming up to a junction or around a corner, and therefore better illuminate the way ahead. If there's one area that can be said to have driven A6 sales more than any other, it has to be this one. Cost of ownership is, after all, where Audi's high-tech investment in lightweight and sophisticated technology really begins to pay off, with average fuel and CO2 figures better than in any rival range, and very little different from those in the saloon, despite this estate model's 60 kilogram weight penalty. Now, even though this model offers more power, it also gives buyers fuel improvements across the board of about 19%. Such is the pace of progress. Much of this is down to a 15% weight improvement that sees this A6 Avant about 70 kilograms lighter than its predecessor, the weight of a portly passenger. And there are, of course, other reasons for this car's strong showing here. A stop-start system that cuts the engine when you don't need it, waiting at the lights or in urban traffic is one of them. Plus there's regenerative braking, a lighter exhaust, the slipperiest shape in its class, and more efficient electric power steering. The cumulative effect of that little lot is impressive, enabling the mainstream 2-litre TDI and 3-litre TDI Multitronic models to claim the lowest benefit-in-kind tax charges in their classes. And all this is because, well, relaxing at nearly 140 miles an hour behind the wheel of the 2-litre TDI A6 Avant, for example, you'd be delivering fuel figures of just 56.5 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle, and putting out no more than 132 grams per kilometre of CO2. And those are statistics that match the previously all-conquering BMW 520d Touring. In fact, you'll even improve upon the figures of the BMW if you opt for this Audi in Multitronic automatic form. There's little penalty either in opting for the 204 PS 3-litre TDI, which manages 54.3 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 136 grams per kilometre of CO2. Go for a more powerful 3-litre TDI though, with Quattro 4-wheel drive, and of course those figures will take a bit of a fall. Take the 245 PS 3 litre TDI Quattro model that I'm driving here. It manages 47.9 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and puts out 156 grams per kilometre of CO2. Petrol people, of course, will have to pay for their pleasures. The 3 litre TFSI model, well, that manages 34.4 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and puts out 190 grams per kilometre of CO2. While the fire-breathing 420 PS S6 petrol variant manages 28.8 miles to the gallon on the combined reading, though that is a 25% improvement on the previous generation model with its very potent V10. Now, get your company accountant to enter that little lot into his calculator and you should come up with a set of pence per mile figures that make very good reading for your local Audi centre. Take, for example, the 204 PS 3 litre TDI SE Multitronic A6 Avant that many will choose. Now, according to independent experts Cat Monitor, over 3 years and or 60,000 miles, that car would cost you around 51 pence per mile to run. Now, to put that into perspective, that's nearly 8 pence per mile less than an equivalent BMW 525D Touring. And the savings continue further up the range. Take the A6 Avant I'm driving here. It's a 3 litre TDI 245 PS Quattro SE with an S-tronic automatic gearbox. Over the same criteria, 3 years and or 60,000 miles, it would cost me around 58 pence per mile to run. And that would save me about 5 pence per mile over an equivalent BMW 530D Touring or a Mercedes E350 CDI Estate. These calculations are boosted in Audi's case by the A6's position as the lowest depreciating car in its class. Cat Monitor again, well, they reckon that over the same 3 year 60,000 mile period, an A6 Avant 3 litre TDI Multitronic with 204 PS, well, that would retain £1,000 more of its value than a comparable Mercedes E250 CDI, and around £3,000 more of its value than a comparable BMW 525D Touring. All good then? Almost. My one slight irritation in this area is that the size of the fuel tank in this 4th generation A6 has been reduced in size by 10 litres. Though if that's really a problem, you can specify the old 75 litre tank as an option. Servicing can be as infrequent as every 19,000 miles or every 2 years, and the costs for garage visits can be kept down by a complete maintenance, warranty and servicing package that you can talk to your Audi centre about. That only leaves insurance costs, which for mainstream models vary between groups 27 and 36. This, even BMW and Mercedes would reluctantly have to admit, is a beautiful piece of engineering. It always has been. The A6 Avant was, after all, the first car in its class to offer things like bonded-in flush glazing, a galvanised body shell, V6 TDI power, 4-wheel drive, and advanced twin-clutch and multitronic automatic gearboxes. And in smart-suited 4th generation guise, the cleverness continues. An extra dose of visual charisma blended in with high technology and premium quality unsurpassed in this sector. This car's drawbacks, such as they are, don't appear to bother many potential buyers. Yes, despite being bigger than before, it's still not the most spacious large executive estate in its class, but these days it's large enough for that not to matter. Yes, the extras can be expensive, but then that's the case for any premium executive car. And yes, the handling isn't especially set up to reward driving enthusiasts, but you can go a long way towards sharpening it by tweaking the Drive Select dynamic handling system, or even by specifying the clever sports differential. This then is a very complete product that will doubtless continue in class leadership for many years to come. A thorough case, if ever there was one, of Vorsprung durch Technik.